Good afternoon. Well, normally we would have held this event outdoors near the monuments, but as you can tell, the weather is blustery out there, and they've predicted even colder weather by the time we would have finished. Hello, my name is Pat Davis, and I'm the mayor of Highland Village. For more than 2 centuries, our country has recognized soldiers who have died while serving in combat for our country. Veterans Day is our opportunity to remember those who have died defending our nation's freedoms. I hope you had a moment to reflect with family and friends on the meaning of this holiday. We just had close to 400 people at our luncheon event today. It was a great event. Veterans Day allows us to visit cemeteries and memorials that honor those who have given everything in service to our country. Here today at this memorial, we honor not only those that have died, but those who have lived and gallantly sacrificed in service to our country. Before we begin, though, it'd be appropriate for us to thank God. So with that, would you please welcome my friend and Highland Village chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Jack Milligan, who will lead the invocation.
Let us pray. Our dear God, this has been a good day. We thank you for the service of veterans throughout the years. We feel honored to have our names on the monuments of Highland Village. Thank you for the privilege of sacrifice of each one and their families. We give thanks for our city for the recognition of veterans. And may God bless the United States of America. In the name of our Lord, amen.
Amen.
Would you please stand with me now as we present the colors, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and have our national anthem.
Halt. Left turn. March. Color guard. Halt. Order. Color. Carry. Color. Present. Color.
Will the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the audience please join me in the Texas Pledge? On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Colors. Right. Pace. Howard, Hart. Ford, Collins.
Thank you. You may be seated. I want to thank the Marcus High School Junior Air Force ROTC from the 81st Squadron. Also, our Pledge of Allegiance was read by Boy Scout Troop 298 from the Village Church, and our national anthem was sung by Vocal Magic. The City of Highland Village desires to honor Highland Village veterans, and in August 2012, at the request of the City Council, a committee of local veterans was organized to review and form the policy for memorial recognition. 7 residents accepted the challenge and have reviewed and approved all the applications that have been received thus far. At this time, I'd like to recognize those members in attendance and thank them publicly for their service. So if you were on the Veterans Committee, please stand. There had to be about a dozen meetings to come to where we are today and what we do each Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And thank you very much for your service. That's one thing good about Highland Village is that we have residents who care about their fellow citizens and serve on committees. The policy was approved by the City Council in September 2012 to allow for the recognition of all Highland Village veterans, whether living or deceased, provided they met the following criteria: the veteran who was honorably discharged and maintained Highland Village residency for a period of at least 1 year at any point in the veteran's life. With that, a 2x6 plate will be ordered by the city and funded by the family or a sponsor, and will be placed on the stone monuments right here on the landscape grounds of the Highland Village Municipal Complex, just right out here to our right. And at the end of this ceremony today, I welcome you to go out and see those names, all 27 of them now, that will be up there on that wall. At our first ceremony in May, we honored 10 local veterans. Today, we honor 17. And if you would like to have, to honor your loved one, please let us know and we can make that happen for you. This is the way we're going to do this today. Each of the council people are going to recognize one of the recipients, or several of the recipients. And to make the process a little bit smoother, I'd ask that when we announce the recipient's name, that they would come to the front and we would recognize them. We're going to tell a little bit about them and about their story, and you can see who they are, okay? So the first one, this is a distinct pleasure. Would Mr. Jack R. Milligan please come up? Yes, sir. Wish she would. Matter of fact, if the loved ones would like to join their recipient, please do so. Okay? Hello, Jack. Jack and I have been friends for a number of years. We go to the same church together. We live in the same community together. We share a lot of the same values together. And we just discussed having a bowl of soup together here. Just Jack R. Milligan began his ministry at Joplin Baptist Church in Jacksboro, Texas in 1955. I was only about 4 years old then. Well, maybe a little older. He served as U.S. Army chaplain from 1956 to 1976. His assignments included Fort Lewis, Washington, Fairbanks, Alaska, Fort Hood, Texas, Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, Fort Sam Houston, Texas, and Friedberg, Germany, and Vietnam. Jack received several military medals throughout his career, including the Legion of Merit, which was awarded at Fort Sam Houston, Texas. This is the highest award given that is not a combat war recognition. Jack believes he received this award because he helped a young man, a civilian with severe amnesia, to be reunited with his military family who lived across the country. Jack and his family have been residents of Highland Village for many years. He and his wife Joyce raised their family here, and their daughter and son-in-law also live in Highland Village and raised their family here. Jack has been a volunteer Highland Village chaplain since 1996. Occasionally, he still substitute preaches. Congratulations. It's an honor to honor you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Next, would Ronald D. Knox come forward, please? Ron, do you have any family with you today? Come on up. Oh, Ron? Yep, right here. Ron and I share a couple of bonds together. We work out together at Medical Center of Louisville. I think we both have had little heart conditions that we've had to try to correct, and so we're trying to work out together. He does better than I do. Ronald D. Knox served in the U.S. Navy as a Quartermaster 3 from 1961 to 1966, where he spent some of his time on the Admiral's Staff Carrier Division 3. On December 2nd, 1965, he was aboard the flagship USS Enterprise, stationed off the coast of Vietnam. The USS Enterprise was the first nuclear-powered ship to engage in combat when she launched aircraft against the Viet Cong. Ron worked for the City of Highland Village in the street department from 1998 to 2010. He had the privilege of being on the crew who erected the Veterans Memorial that you see out here today. Ron has been a resident of Highland Village for the past 30 years. He has 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Congratulations, Ron. Thank you for your service. Next is Robert O'Grin Barry II. I got to tell a little story as Mrs. Barry comes up here. This all started because of this lady right here. She came to us and said, how come you recognize the people who have died for their country? Why don't we recognize the people who lived for our country? Why don't we recognize all veterans? And it got us to thinking. And so I appreciate you pointing it out to us and making us think. Robert Bob O'Grin Barry II served in the Air Force for 24 years, entering service on April the 2nd, 1975, and retiring honorably on April the 30th, 1999. During his time in the Air Force, he served 11 years in the security forces at Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, and in Truett. Did I say that right? Yeah, I knew I was going to blow it. Air Force Base, Turkey. His military career also included 13 years as a paralegal at Beale Air Force Base in California, as a law office manager at Carswell Air Force Base, Texas, and the Royal Air Force, Brentwaters, England, United Kingdom, as district manager over United Kingdom Norway bases while stationed at the Royal Air Force, Mendenhall, England, United Kingdom, as an regional superintendent of the U.S. Western Circuit, 19 bases at Travis Air Force Base, California, before retiring in Highland Village. Upon retirement from the Air Force, he became employed with American Airlines Federal Credit Union in Fort Worth, Texas, and worked as a network manager for 10 years. Unfortunately, Bob passed away at the age of 51 on September the 8th, 2009, at his residence in Highland Village, where he had lived for the past 10 years. Bob and his wife, Karen, were high school sweethearts who met at the age of 14 and were never parted. They were married 34 years. They have one son, Robert Ogren Barry III, Robbie, one daughter, Amanda Ramon, and her husband, Jeffrey, and 2 granddaughters, Riley and Reagan. Thank you for your husband's service. Thank you for Seems that so many of the people that I was able to present have connections with me. The next person is Fred Dirksmeyer, lives right across the street from me. So we see each other when we take the trash out. He's coming up the hill and I'm going down the hill. But they've been great neighbors and are very appreciative of them. After graduating from West Point in 1975, Fred served in the Army for 21 years in a variety of assignments in and throughout the United States and Europe. His specialties include tactical communications and force modernization. His assignments included serving as a communications officer and platoon leader in the 3rd Armored Division in Germany, where he met his wife, Liz, who was visiting her brother. As a company commander in the 1st Infantry Division at Fort Riley in Kansas, as an operations officer in the 5th Infantry Division at Fort Polk in Louisiana, as an executive officer in the 3rd Infantry Division in Germany. His final assignment was at Fort Hood, Texas, where he served as battalion commander for the 142nd Signal Battalion in the 2nd Army Division. Quite a career. Very proud of you. His training and education included attendance at the Signal Corps Officer Basic and Advanced courses and the Command and General Staff College. His commendations include numerous service medals, Army Commendation medals. Fred retired from the Army in 1996 as a lieutenant colonel. After retiring, Fred worked for a variety of companies in Texas and Washington, D.C., and currently works for Essler. The Dirksmeyers moved to Highland Village in 2002. Congratulations. Now it's my pleasure to invite to the podium the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Highland Village. We work as a team, all the council members together, but without Charlotte Wilcox right beside me, there's no way I could be the mayor of this city. Thank you, Ms. Wilcox.
I see you got your check in the mail, Mayor. There'll be another one, I assure you. Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce Louis A. Jeter. Okay, so let me just go ahead and apologize for all the like the mayor, okay? We'll just get it out of the way now. Come up here and join me.
Can I bring one on one?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
More the merrier.
Come on up. So it's Jeter. Better Jeter. I'm going to do that right now. Louis A. Better Jeter was called to serve in the U.S. Army on January the 16th, 1952, only 3 weeks after his 20th birthday. He took 16 weeks of infantry basic training at Camp Breckenridge, Kentucky. After intense basic training was completed in June of 1952, he was sent to Seattle, Washington, and boarded a troop ship to Korea. Upon arrival at port of Incheon, thank you, in mid-July, he was sent via truck to the 160th Infantry Regiment assigned to Item Company as a rifleman. Mr. Better Jeter served in Korea for 14 months and became a squad leader and rose to the rank of sergeant. During his tour of duty, he was honored to receive several awards: Combat Infantry Badge, Korean Service Medal, and 3 Bronze Service Stars, National Defense Service Medal, United Nations Service Medal, and the Korean Commemorative Medal. The war ended on July 27, 1953, and Sergeant Jeter returned home in September for an honorable discharge in October of 1953. He was proud to serve his country during this conflict, and 60 years still considers it his proudest moment. Mr. Jeter and his wife, Mary Helen, you're welcome, moved to Highland Village in 2004 to be near their daughters, Robin Hurlbut and her family. Are you Robin? Thank you so much for your service, sir. I'm gonna I love that. Okay. Next is Scott M. Douglas. And if Mr. Douglas tells me it's a different way, I'm gonna let somebody else take over. That's an easy one. I like that one.
Who's the veteran here?
I was fixing to say, bless your heart.
Just 3 weeks out.
Oh my
Surgery.
goodness. Say it's a ski accident or you were defending somebody's,
Oh, I wish it was something fun.
well,
Ran too
make
many
it up.
marathons is what it is.
Oh,
Now it's
yeah, me too. Okay. Scott M. Douglas entered the Air Force in October of 1978. His initial training included the United States Air Force Flight Screening Program, United States Air Force Officer Training School, United States Air Force Undergraduate Pilot Training, Pilot Instructor Training, and initial pilot training. Mr. Douglas finished each of these programs as a distinguished graduate or a top graduate. His first assignment was as a United States Air Force flight training instructor and flight examiner in the T-38 Talon for 4.5 years. 54 FTS, flying training squadrons, for those that don't know, and 64 FTWs, flying training wings, at Reese Air Force Base in Texas, where he received a Meritorious Service Medal. His second assignment was as a air refueling aircraft commander in the C-5A Galaxy for 3.33 years, 22 MAS, Military Airlift Squadron, 60 MAW, Military Airlift Wing, at Travis Air Force Base, California, where he received the Commendation Medal. Mr. Douglas separated from the Air Force in June 1987. He and his family have lived in Highland Village since 1999, when he moved here to fly out of DFW for Delta. He just passed 27 years flying with Delta Airlines, and his current position is a B777 captain based in Detroit, Michigan. Oh boy. She was defending the life of an older woman in an attack. Okay, my next one is Walter Lee Dyer. Mr. Dyer's family here. Carol from Walter, your niece? Carol?
And this is mine.
Okay. And
His daughter.
your daughter. Oh, you're the daughter. Come here.
I see you.
Okay. So we have Mr. Dyer's family. Let me just read this so I don't mess it up. Walter Lee Dyer entered the U.S. Army Air Force in January 1942, right after Pearl Harbor, and before there was a U.S. Air Force. As a U.S. Army Air Force pilot in the 8th Air Force in World War II, he flew B-24s in 35 missions over the Rhineland, France, Ardennes, flew fuel for General Patton, and targeted missions against V-1 and V-2 movable weapon sites, 227 combat hours. He retired 26 years later as a highly decorated United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, command pilot, and after serving in 3 wars, 26 foreign countries, all 50 states, and flying 22 different aircraft from hand-cranked props to jets. Mr. Dyer received the Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal with 6 oak leaf clusters, and other awards from the U.S. and foreign nations. He flew a total of 7,800 military flying hours. Mr. Dyer flew as a commercial pilot and instructor, worked for the FAA and the Texas Veterans, received commendations from 2 Texas governors, a Congressional Veterans Commendation, and the FAA Master Pilot Wright Brothers Award. Mr. Dyer lived his dream, flying a total of 9,800 hours. Mr. Dyer and his wife lived in Highland Village for 21 years prior to his death in March of 2013. Okay, now it's my distinct honor to introduce the Deputy Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Highland Village, Bill Meek.
Okay. Ooh, this first one looks like I might mess it up. Do you want the Italian version of the pronunciation or the way I would probably butcher it? I'm going to introduce Mr. Gerald. Is that Cucciarillo or Cucciarillo? Cucciarillo, okay. Well, maybe I didn't do too bad. Come forward, Mr. Cucciarillo, and bring your family, if you would. Welcome, sir. Mr. Gerald
Cucurullo.
Cucurullo, also known as Jerry. Mr. Cucurullo joined the Army in June of 1966 and completed his service in August of 1967. He attended basic training at Fort Hood, Texas. He was living in New York at the time and Fort Dix in New Jersey, and would have been the normal place for basic training. But it was full because of the buildup for the Vietnam War. So Jerry did serve in Vietnam during the same time with the Army. Jerry moved to Highland Village in November of 1983, where he raised his daughter and his son, both of whom still live in the area. So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you.
Now I would like to introduce Mr. Rick Stiggers. Is that correct, Stiggers? That's correct. Okay, bring your family. Welcome. Welcome. Now, this is your son? Yes. And his name is? Dylan. Dylan? Okay. Hi, Dylan. Okay. This is the family of Mr. Stiggers, including Dylan. Dylan, how are you? 9 years old. Okay. Rick Stiggers entered active duty in the U.S. Air Force, reporting for basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, in March of 1985. In June of 1985, he was selected for special duty assignment, Headquarters Air Reserve Personnel Center, ARPC, Lowry, Air Force Base, Denver, Colorado, where he served as a member of the Air Force Honor Guard. In December of 1988, he was selected for a special duty assignment, Headquarters Office of Special Investigation, OSI, Bowling Air Force Base, Washington, D.C. Rick served in support of Desert Shield and Desert Storm from August of 1990 to June of 1995. Rick received several awards and accomplishments, including the Air Force Commendation Medal, Air Force Organizational Excellence Award, Air Force Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Air Force Longevity Service Award Ribbon, and NCO Professional Military Education Graduate Ribbon. He separated from active duty in November of 1994 with an honorable discharge after serving 9 years and 7 months with pride. Rick, his son Sheila, their son Dylan, and their dog have been residents of Highland Village since 2005. I'd be remiss, what's the dog's name? Okay. Got to include him too. Thank you very much. Now, my last distinguished person to introduce is Mr. Lloyd Eugene, and I'm afraid I'm going to mess this one up, Talaferro. Mr. Talaferro? Not here? Oh, Mrs. Talaferro, okay. Did I pronounce that right? Taliaferro, okay. I knew I messed it up. Lloyd Taliaferro proudly served his country in the United States Marine Corps from 1958 to 1966. He did his basic training at Camp Pendleton in San Diego and then was in the reserves after his service. He was never deployed. Lloyd was a resident of Highland Village for over 18 years from 1997 to 1995 and later retired to Huntsville, Texas. And this is, you are Mrs. Talferro?
That's my dad.
Oh, that's your dad, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. And your name again is?
Stacy King.
Stacy King?
Yes.
Stacy, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to the podium the next councilman, Michelle Schwallert.
Mr. Stiggers, you made me smile because I think even the most honorable and dignified men and servicemen and women still dress their children properly and keep them in line right. Okay, so before I introduce the first person, I just want to personally thank all of you for your service. I know we only introduced 2 of you, or 3 of you, but I just want to thank you all. You're very special people, and the families and spouses of the servicemen and women sacrifice as well. So thank you very much. Okay, so I am honored to introduce Llewellys Dublin. Is it Dublin? Dublin? Dublin. Dublin? Here? No? Okay, I can read, though. I will read. Okay. Llewellys Dublin entered the Marine Corps as a private in June of 1965, shortly after graduating from high school. He served 1 tour of duty in Vietnam from January to December 1967 and earned a meritorious promotion and field promotion to sergeant. Shortly after selection for Staff Sergeant in 1968, Llewellys changed his military operations specialty to computer programming. He graduated from computer programming class in 1969 and returned to MCRD San Diego, where he remained for 4 years. Between 1972 and 1981, Mr. Dublin spent time in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, as a gunnery sergeant, Okinawa, Japan, Camp Pendleton, California, as head programmer for all logistics systems, Quantico, Virginia, Albany, Georgia, Wichita, Kansas, where he served as a recruiter for a year. In 1981, he went back to Camp Pendleton, California, where he was promoted to Master Sergeant. He was transferred in 1983 to Okinawa, Japan, to be a part of the Information Systems Management Office staff, and eventually became the ISMO chief. In 1984, Llewellys transferred back to Albany, Georgia, where he completed his career and retired as a Master Gunnery Sergeant. Llewellys and his wife, Sandra, have been residents of Highland Village since 1990. Okay, and my next honoree is Burton Bratt. Is that your family? Come on.
Come up here.
You're not hiding. No.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing.
Good. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you need to be on the spot. You're special.
get the picture.
Okay. Burt Bratt was drafted into the U.S. Army in October 1966 during the Vietnam conflict, where he spent basic training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. After basic, he was transferred to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, where he was attached to the 4th Army Adjutant General Corps in the Data Processing Unit. During his time in the service, Burt achieved the rank of Specialist 5. He also earned National Defense Service Medal, Expert Rifle Badge, and the Good Conduct Medal. Burt was discharged in October 1968. 2 interesting events occurred during his time at Fort Sam. Both times his unit was called up to be shipped to Vietnam, but as luck would have it, Burt and 3 other soldiers were picked to stay behind to instruct the men coming into the job in the unit. It is unknown why this happened to Burt both times. After his discharge, Burt got a job with IBM Corporation, where he worked until his retirement in 1998. He then joined the IT team at Children's Medical Center, Dallas, where he retired in 2011. During his time in San Antonio, Burt met his wife, Gilda, and they were married in June 1969. They have lived in Highland Village since 1982. Thank you, Burt. Okay, and now I would like to introduce the next council member, Fred Bushy.
Good afternoon. I would like to essentially echo what Michelle said. The closest I came to serving was number 164 during the draft lottery in 65, I think it was. So 64? 68, whatever, okay. Needless to say, I have mixed emotions about that. And now I'd like to essentially welcome William Buddy F. Eves. Is it Buddy? You go by Buddy? I mean, William? Buddy. Fred Bushy.
Buddy Eves.
Aye. Joan, okay. I'll just say Buddy then from now on, okay? Buddy Eves grew up in Louisville area, graduating from Louisville High School in 1966. He was inducted into the U.S. Army in November of 1967. He completed basic training at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and advanced training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He was subsequently assigned to Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 81st Artillery, as a missile crewman. He was stationed in New Ulm, I believe it is, New Ulm, Germany. His battalion was responsible for maintenance, transport, positioning, readiness, and launching of the Pershing missiles. Now, Pershing missiles were the missiles that basically kept us sort of on an even par with the Russians back during that time. They were a very important weapon. While in Germany, Buddy advanced to Specialist 5th Class. After 18 months of service in Germany, he returned to his home in Louisville and served in the U.S. Army Reserves for 4 years. He is currently retired, having worked 31 years for the General Motors Corporation. He has resided in Highland Village with his wife, Joan, since 1981. They have 4 children, 9 grandchildren, 1 great-grandson. He remains very proud of his military service, as the rest of us do, and is proud to be an American and citizen of Highland Village. Thank you for coming. Mick Olakovic. Mick has been with us for a long time. We've known Mick for a long time. He's served Highland Village in a number of different ways, and he's come back to help us with some other things now, and it's welcome back, Mick. Mick served in the Air Force from 1981 to 1986 at a Lockheed C-141 Starlifter aircraft as a Lockheed C-141 Starlifter aircraft commander, where he managed crews on worldwide air transport and aeromedical evacuation. He has also served as pilot in command on missions in direct support of the United States Department of State and the President of the United States. As an executive officer, he performed management duties and special projects as directed by the squadron commander. As a prime nuclear force courier officer, he was responsible for receipt, custody, safety, and delivery of nuclear weapons. He managed a team of up to 50 personnel during nuclear weapons operations and was the final authority for weapons security. Mick has been a pilot for Delta Airlines since 1986 and is currently a Boeing 767 international captain. Mick has been a resident of Highland Village since 1987 and has been active in our community. He has served on the Highland Village Park Master Plan Task Force, Strategic Planning Committee, Parks and Recreation Board, and he was the event planning chairman for our first ever Highland Village Days event held in the 90s. Thank you for your service. And now it's my pleasure to introduce John McGee, who will carry on from here. Thank you.
I'm going to share with a bit of trivia that those of us who have served will remember, and those that have not may know about. But you know, the day you enter the service, they give you this number, and they tell you on the day that they give it to you, you will remember it the rest of your life. You will never forget that number, RA 156877097. You never forget it. That's your service number. It doesn't make any difference where you join. You remember. That's everybody who's ever served. That's just a little trivia that they have. They'll hold back and something to share. It's such a pleasure to be here to recognize these folks, as well as it was today at lunch, to recognize all the vets that we have in the community. At this time, it's my pleasure and honor to recognize Dr. James Herzog and his family, friends, if they're here. In 1995, Dr. Herzog completed his residency at John Peter Smith Hospital in Fort Worth. He joined the U.S. Air Force as a captain while he was in residency and went on active duty immediately thereafter. His first duty station was at the base hospital and clinic at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, where he spent the first 2 years of his 5-year military assignment. While there, he volunteered for a 90-day deployment in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, under Operation Southern Watch.
where he was Deputy Hospital Commander and Officer in charge of Clinical Emergency Services. During, it was during this tour that he was promoted to the rank of Major. His second and final duty station was the 15th Medical Group at Hickam Air Force Base in Honolulu, Hawaii, tough duty, where he served as a Chief of Primary. I was at Camp H.M. Smith up top the hill for a while, so. He was designated as a primary treating doctor for distinguished visitors who would come to the base, including Vice President of the People's Republic of China. Dr. Herzog considers his military experience as one of the most rewarding and memorable experiences of his life. Dr. Herzog has been living in Highland Village with his wife and 4 children since he separated from the Air Force in July of 2000 even. Thank you very much for your service. Timothy.
Yes, sir.
How are you? Didn't put these two together.
B853936.
Tim and I are neighbors. Come on up, family. I didn't realize that I didn't put these together.
Whole crew here.
That's
My wife
good.
Karen,
Hi, Karen.
son Brent, Travis, and Jared.
Well, welcome. It's such an honor for you to be here and for me to recognize you. Tim departed the induction center in Los Angeles, California on May 20, 1968, and headed to the U.S. Naval Training Center in San Diego, California for 8 weeks of boot camp training. During that time in boot camp, he made the decision to study electronics for training. Overall, he was in school for 1.5 years, spent 4 years aboard the USS New Orleans and making 4 Westpac cruises to Vietnam, watched the recovery of Apollo 14 and Skylab 2 astronauts, and spent 2.5 years on the shore duty in Hawaii. What is this Hawaii stuff? He's visited places like Taiwan, Okinawa, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines, Mexico, again Hawaii, San Francisco, Long Beach, Arlington, and San Diego. During his 8 years of service, he was promoted from Seaman Recruit E1 at boot camp to Data Systems Technician First Class E6 when he was honorably discharged. He made it to the top of his class while learning about computers and was nominated as a Sailor of the Quarter twice during his time aboard ship. Tim and his wife Karen have lived in Highland Village for 11 years. They're proud parents of 3 grown sons. In the past year, they were blessed with 2 grandsons.
Thanks.
It's an honor to serve. And at this time, I'd like to bring back our mayor, Pat.
Well, as you know, Highland Village is a great place to live. One of the best things about Highland Village is that we're the safest city in Texas. And we're that way because we have a great police department. And with that, our final recipient is also our most recent veteran. At the request of his family, Lieutenant Bobby Doyle on our police department will be recognizing him. Lieutenant Doyle has been a positive and instrumental influence in this young man's life. Thank you, Mr. Doyle.
I'd like to thank the Bohannon family for this honor. Brian Bohannon enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 2005 after graduating from Marcus High School. He reported to Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. Oh, yeah, come on. I'm sorry. No? Okay.
There's too many of them.
He reported to Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego on June 20th, 2005. After graduation from recruit training on September 18th, 2005, Brian received orders to undergo Marine Occupational Specialty training at Naval Air Station Pensacola, Florida. After graduating at the top of his class, Private First Class Bohannon received orders to report to his primary duty station aboard Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma, Arizona, where he was promoted to Lance Corporal and assigned the position of Production Control Chief for his division within the unit. Lance Corporal Bohannon was again selected for promotion to the rank of Corporal on October 1st, 2007, and was assigned to the role of Division Non-Commissioned Officer in Charge. In March of 2008, Corporal Bohannon received orders and was deployed to Air Base Al-Assad, Iraq, as an attachment to Marine Aviation Logistics Squadron 16 Reinforced. Corporal Bohannon was meritoriously promoted to the rank of sergeant on November 2nd, 2009. Sergeant Bohannon received several awards during his time with Marine Corps. Brian is the son of Jeff and Becky Bohannon of Highland Village. The Bohannon family have been active members of the Highland Village community for 20-plus years. Thank you for your son and his service.
Let's have one more round of applause for all the recipients. A community is as good as its members, and our community is based with a lot of good members. A lot of great people who live here and are dedicated, a great base for our city. We want to thank you for being here today to honor these brave servicemen. Thank you to Chaplain Milligan, the Marcus High School Air Force ROTC, Boy Scout Troop 298 from the Village Church, Vocal Magic, the Veterans Committee, the great city council members, Charlotte Wilcox, Bill Meek, John McGee, Fred Bushy, and Michelle Swoller. I want to have a special thanks for our city manager, Mr. Levitt, back here, okay, and Lori Wright, who spearheaded this event. Lori, where are you at? Right here. Please plan to join us the week of Memorial Day in May 2014 for our next Honor Our Veterans event. I want to thank you for your time to be here today. This will end our ceremony, but I want to end it with some famous words, and I want to remind you that the memorial is just outside. It's a little windy, it's a little cold, but it'd be worth seeing. It's still nice, bright, sunshiny day. The sun's still up. But I end with these famous words. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thank you for being here today.